For 2024, Mercedes has combined the C-Class and E-Class Coupé and Cabriolets into the first ever CLE-Class Grand Tourer. This is the 2025 Mercedes-Benz CLE 300 4matic, finished in the beautiful manufactured Patagonia red metallic paint with the AMG line package. Today I'm going to be going over what you need to know about this new CLE class, how it compares to the E-Class Coupé we featured a few years ago, and if you should be looking at this if you're in the market not only for a coupe, but why the C300 might be the one to go with. So this CLE 300 is the entry-level model here in Canada, at least as of filming this. There are a number of different models in Europe, but this is what we get here as the entry level. There's also a CLE 53, that's the entry-level AMG version, and then there is talks of a proper CLE 63 returning to the 4-liter bi-turbo V8. So that will be a fun car because this is more of like a Grand Tourer. Something you're going to take for a drive, you're going to enjoy it, and you will get the fuel efficiency that comes with it. This has a 2-liter M254 4-cylinder engine with the 48-volt EQ Boost mild hybrid system we have come to know and love. Produces 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. In fact, it's pretty similar to my own 2013 C300, so the 300 designation on the back fits in line with the overall performance this vehicle has. Now, that electric motor is good for about 23 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. So overall, it's not going to be producing any power to push the car forward. It's there to help in between gear shifts and coasting, and we will talk about the fuel economy on our road test. It's pretty magical. We also have the 9G-tronic automatic transmission, and this comes only as 4matic. You cannot get the rear-wheel drive only model. This is all we get here for the CLE 300. Now let's talk about the overall design when it comes to the CLE class. We have the new front shark nose design, and it is pretty aggressive. We've got the Mercedes-Benz pattern grille as well that Victor first saw in the new E-Class. I like it. It's an elegant touch with the chrome detail in there with the little Mercedes stars. It's not over the top, but it reminds you that you are driving a Mercedes-Benz. Also, you can see in the plastic around the lower part of the bezel on the front bumper, we also have the pattern there as well. So it's a nice continuation of the overall design. We have the digital light headlamps that I talked a little bit about when we had the S63 a couple weeks ago. They work extremely well. I like them quite a bit. We have the 2 LED daytime running light sort of dots to represent that this is a mid-size vehicle, right? You know, usually with Mercedes design language, you've got one sort of line or dot for the C-Class, 2 for the E, and then 3 for the S. That's again what we saw last week with the S63. It had 3 of those little sort of indentations at the lower part of the daytime running lights. These have 2. That makes sense. The rear end also has the coupe style taillights. We're starting to see that actually on the coupe SUVs. I think it works a lot better on the cars versus the SUVs, but I do like it. We also have the 20-inch AMG multi-spoke light alloy wheels with the black finish on them. They are a staggered set, so the front are smaller than the rear. That's what we like to see from any sort of sports car. Now, it feels like a century ago, but I did feature the Mercedes-AMG E53 Coupé back in 2019. That is essentially what this car replaces along with the C-Class Coupé. Comparing to the E-Class specifically, this is 15 millimeters longer overall, probably because of that new front end and maybe a little bit of the bumper, but it's got the same width and it's actually got 8 millimeters less wheelbase, so that is a little bit smaller. It's also got 2 millimeters less height, so just a tiny little bit shorter. Now, Mercedes says the maximum front legroom is actually up by 7 millimeters on this vehicle, and that could be good if you're not putting anybody in the back, because essentially all the other interior dimensions have gotten smaller over the previous E-Class Coupé. Rear legroom down a whopping 43 millimeters, front and rear headroom are down 15 and 10 millimeters respectively. The shoulder and elbow room are down as well, and the trunk volume is actually 5 liters less than it was on the E-Class Coupé. Now, when you compare it to the C-Class, obviously everything is better because that was a smaller vehicle. So in order for Mercedes to take 2 different size segments and merge them into one, there has to be some compromise. So if you're a current C-Class Coupé customer and you're looking at the CLE, you're going to be pretty happy. And even if you have an E-Class, I don't think you're going to be too disappointed. It depends on what you do with those rear seats. I do find I am a little tight being a bigger guy sitting in the driver's seat. My shoulder room is just a little bit tighter than I would have expected, but that is kind of par for the course when it comes to this segment. Which is a perfect segue to talk about the interior. We have the macchiato beige Artico seats. That is a man-made leather. They are comfortable enough. I have no issues with it. Now we do have the optional ventilated seats as well as heated front seats and the heated steering wheel. But one thing to note about the heated steering wheel is there's no button for it. It is available to be tied to your heated seats through the MBUX infotainment system, and you can also ask the car to turn it on or off, but there is no dedicated button for it. Something to note. Now with the AMG line package, we have the multifunction sport steering wheel. We also have the Artico dashboard, so it's a little bit nicer material on there. Again, that man-made leather, and it looks very nice. The top of the door cards are also finished in that. I think overall it is a very classy vehicle for this price point. We have the augmented reality navigation system as well as the HUD and the 360-degree cameras. We have a very large head-up display. I do like it quite a bit. There's some information that you can customize in that, and then the pretty standard MBUX setup that we have come to see now on this current generation of Mercedes vehicles. The infotainment screen has all of your controls in it. We're not huge fans of that, and then your cluster has a number of different modes. The infotainment screen is 11.9 inches and the cluster is 12.3. Now, one of the optional extras we have on this vehicle, which I always recommend going for, this has the Burmester 3D surround sound audio system. It is a 15 speaker setup and it sounds great. But not only that, Mercedes-Benz is the first auto brand to partner with Apple to provide spatial audio for in-car enjoyment. Now, if you don't know what that is, if you've got newer generation AirPods, I have a set of AirPod Pros, when you put them in and you turn your head, you can hear, watch things, and it'll kind of move around as you're moving. But also, with spatial audio, music will play as if you're in a surround sound booth. That is exactly how it works here too. You can connect it via whether it's Bluetooth or Apple CarPlay or USB if you've got Apple Music, and you can find music that is in spatial audio. There's even a playlist for driving with spatial audio. You can listen to it and it does sound noticeably better. So I do encourage you to go for this upgrade. This isn't the 4D system that we saw in the S-Class, but this is the upgraded system here for the CLE. Definitely worth your money. Now, we've talked a lot about what the current generation Mercedes vehicles have to offer. We won't touch on that anymore because it's time to hit the road and talk about how the CLE 300 performs on the road and why you might want to be considering this version. All right, my friends, we're on the road now with the CLE 300 4matic. I have to talk about fuel efficiency. It's so good. I couldn't believe it. We completed our 100-kilometer test loop in eco mode in 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers. That's hybrid levels of what I would expect, not mild hybrid. This was really, really efficient. A lot of it has to do with the obviously 48-volt mild hybrid system, but also coasting. Now, by comparison, you're probably wondering, well, how does that compare? My C300 from 2013 is like 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers, maybe like a little bit lower. We are going to be testing it in a few weeks again, just to get kind of a new baseline for it. But I mean, it's wildly efficient, this vehicle. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So let's put it into eco mode first, and then we'll go into sport mode. So here's the thing. That 48-volt mild hybrid system is there to supplement power in between shifts and off the line and coasting and regen, all sorts of fancy stuff taken from the Mercedes F1 team. Now, if I let go of the gas right now, engine shuts off. We're currently coasting. That is how I have gotten this fuel efficiency. I live in an area that's got a lot of hills. We go up, we go down, we curve, we do all sorts of crazy stuff, which really benefits this coasting system. The thing is, though, once you start to brake, engine comes back on, right? It's got to recoup that electricity. Once you know that, that's how you can get the fuel efficiency to be so good, because you turn off the engine, obviously you're going to be saving gas because you're not using any. But it only works in town, because when I was on the highway, I had cruise control on. The active cruise control system, that's an option on here, which we have, works great. But when you plug in your speed to, the speed limit, then the car is just going to continue to drive. You're not really going to be able to coast because the engine's always running. So once I got off the highway is where things got really exciting because, for example, we're going to get up to speed here, but I've got a bit of a hill. We're going down here a little bit. I'm just going to let my foot off the gas. I'm still kind of keeping the same speed, but we're starting to coast. And the vehicle will just roll along. There's no resistance. You have the engine and the motor, and it's not pulling any electricity off of it. So we're essentially able to gain speed if the steep here is enough that we can actually start getting a little bit quicker. Because we're currently at 81, might get up to 82. No, we're down to 80. But the point is I'm not using any gas, even though I'm not gaining any electricity. That 48 volt system is pretty small, so the battery gains from that aren't great. So then I need to speed up, engine kicks back on. So it has been really efficient. And in fact, I've been keeping this vehicle in eco mode just to see how efficient I can be. Because obviously once I start getting into town, things get a little bit worse. So currently we're sitting at 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers after driving 227 in total. So that's really, really good. I'm quite impressed with these numbers. Now, putting it into sport mode, you're going to have a little bit more fun. Obviously, this isn't meant to be a performance vehicle. It's not an AMG. But as a Grand Tourer, something that you might want to buy as a fun little present for yourself, a toy, something that you're going to drive year-round but enjoy on the weekends, you're going to have fun with it. Pushing the car button on your screen, I can go into manual shift mode, and then that way, 9G-tronic, we've enjoyed it immensely as a transmission. It's not as quick as the AMG Speed Shift, but it gets the job done. And look, going over some rough roads there, no problems. It shifts great. I like it. So you've got those options. You have that sport essence when you want it, but it is meant to be more of a luxury Grand Tourer. I'm comfortable in here. It's not the vehicle for me just because I'm pretty big, that I don't quite fit in it the way that I would like to, but it kind of happens. The only coupe I think I would really fit in would be the S-Class Coupe. They don't make that anymore. So for something like this, it works out well. Comfort's good, performance is good, efficiency is phenomenal. The overall ride is also quite smooth. I've been very impressed with it. Again, I keep it in eco mode for the most part, but it's exactly what I would expect from almost an E-Class, right? Wheelbase is just a little bit lower than what it was on the previous generation. And when I think back to that 2019 E53, obviously that being the more performance-oriented vehicle, I had a lot of fun with it. I liked it quite a bit. And with this new generation, this is the way that I would go. I would probably skip the AMG altogether, the entry-level one. I would go for this because the efficiency has been really what's been key for me. And it would replace my C-Class. My C-Class is a daily driver. It's not meant for performance. It's only meant to get me from A to B as fuel efficiently as possible. And that is exactly what this does. Oh, but you do have the performance. I mean, look at that. Yeah, that's nice. It is nice. I like it quite a bit. It's a good job from Mercedes. This makes a lot of sense for people who are looking at a coupe. The markets are getting a little bit smaller on them. Manufacturers aren't making as many anymore, so you kind of got to take what you can get. So like I said outside, if you're in a C-Class coupe right now and you're looking at a replacement, this will be the most logical course of action. It's going to cost you more. That's one downside. And then E-Class owners, they will have to decide, do you want to kind of, because you're going down just like a little bit, right? It's not a lot, it's a little bit. But let's just put it this way. Did you notice there's no B-roll of me sitting in the back seat? That's because I have no interest in going back there. Even my daughter really doesn't want to go back there. She's pretty tall. In fact, she's taller than my wife now. So be curious to see this weekend, if we take it for a spin, who's going to be sitting in the back seats, because it's certainly not going to be me. But if you have any questions about this new CLE class, please let us know in the comments below. We do get back to everybody as quickly as we can. So whether you've got questions about the car itself or anything else that we're doing here at Test Drive, we'd love to hear from you. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, as it helps us grow and also helps you get access to the latest videos as soon as they come up. Make sure you hit that notification icon. Well, we appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.